Hello. I'm Murray Herbst, Director of Entrepreneurship for UTS. At UTS, we have a program called UTS Startups, which is about inspiring and supporting technology-enabled entrepreneurs. On this channel, you will see entrepreneurial confessions, so people that are talking about what actually enabled them, what they actually did, what they actually got. You'll see tips from people that have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs about what was helpful, what might be helpful to you. You'll see workshops from different parts of UTS about entrepreneurial topics. So basically, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, hit subscribe, and I think you'll like what you see. But today, I'm so excited. Are you excited?
Yeah, really excited.
Okay, let's see how we go. Vanouhi is one of my favorite people, and honestly, with a company called Kindershare, which I'm not going to explain in too much detail because I think the story makes it interesting over time. I'll start with background. Who were you before starting Kindershare?
So I was always someone who was interested in technology, but had always only ever considered it a hobby. You know, we had a computer when I was quite young. I think in the 80s we might have had a computer at home. You had to type in your little code into DOS to get things working. But it was never something that I took seriously because numbers was always my thing. I loved numbers in every form. Studied to be an actuary for a few years, but realised I liked talking to people, so sort of converted to a finance degree. Spent many years in corporate restructuring, which was a lot of fun, until I didn't like it anymore and worked for a charity for many, many years in their finance team. So helping counsellors and social workers understand numbers. So I liked teaching people things. I loved analysing numbers. That was me. Got to a stage in my life where I couldn't quite figure out if the next move was going to be CEO or CFO. And so I enrolled in the social impact degree here at UTS to try to figure out social enterprise degree, to figure out what was going to be the next step and hopefully have that lead my journey somewhat.
Okay, cool. So that sounds wonderful. What, literally wonderful. It's hard to, and I think this is something a lot of people get into. You get on a career path and it gets better and better and better. What are your first memories of the Kindershare idea?
It wasn't conscious at the time, but when Laurie, my oldest, was 4 or 5 months old, we were travelling to Melbourne to meet, to do a test trip before we went overseas with her for the first time. And we needed a way to take her pram with us down to Melbourne. And I was looking on Gumtree for a second-hand pram bag or something we could buy. Found someone renting a pram bag on there. So I drove over, picked it up and got that. And I thought, okay, that was cool, nice and easy, sorted. Don't have to worry about pram bags anymore. There's one there to rent whenever I need one. That was, and at the time I remember thinking, oh, I wonder how much money this guy makes. You know, accountant brain always goes to utilising utilised assets, monetising them, things like that. But I think I just parked that and didn't really think about it until I was doing a subject here at UTS called business models. And part of that was to do a business model canvas. The assignment was do a business model canvas on a business idea that you've come up with, which is a problem in your own life. And that was really the start point of Kindershare. We had a house full of stuff. As anyone with young kids knows, you just keep accumulating stuff. And at the time, we couldn't figure out, are we going to have number 3 or are we going to just stay with 2 kids? And so I thought, okay, let's figure out, okay, take that guy's idea from Gumtree and try to figure out how I could make use of it.
Okay, beautiful. You've answered my next question, which was about understanding the opportunity and how you saw this to be worth pursuing. I think the accounting background sounded wonderful in understanding, okay, there's this market, looks like this in terms of how you could realise it.
The accounting background, yeah, useful, but is sometimes the opposite of useful. You're so used to overthinking, over-justifying every single decision you make before you actually make the decision. there's a bias towards analysis rather than action when you're an accountant. So that, I think, hindered me rather than helped me in the early days. The opportunity was possibly a lot bigger than was possibly a lot smaller than I thought it was. I can't even remember what number I put on my assignment, but I thought, market opportunity is some massive number. Actually, the more and more we got into it, we realised, no, there's only certain types of people that want to rent, and there's psychological barriers that we weren't necessarily aware of when we were putting this whole big plan together in the early days.
Do you think not realising those things was helpful in motivating you to start?
Good question. Yes, I think if I knew how difficult it was going to be, it probably might have stopped me. If I knew how long it was going to take before we broke even, my accountant brain would have said definitely no. Whereas now I know no business makes money for a very long time. And that's the new reality. It's not the old reality of you open a shop front and you're making money on the second day. So, yeah.
I feel like I'm sure your kids are wonderful and my kids are wonderful, but if I knew what I was getting into, that might give me second thoughts. But once you're committed to something, they turn out to be incredible.
Yes.
I think entrepreneurship ends up being very similar, that people maybe don't need to know everything before they start, or they might get scared out of it.
Yeah, but taking your kids' example, someone said to us before our first one was born, it's the highest of highs, but it's the lowest of lows. And so you accept the lows because you know that those highs are something you don't get anywhere else. So, yeah.
True. There are good ideas everywhere.
Yep.
What enabled you to put the effort in that was needed for Kindershare to start to develop?
Technology enabled, or do you mean other supports around me?
In terms of your own time and what enabled you to put the effort in.
Okay, so I guess step one, credit where it's due, husband, who said, yeah, I think you should give this a go. I tend to give him, we both actually tend to swap our reports or assignments or anything else just to do a final clean read. And he read the final version of the assignment. He said, oh, I actually think you should give this a go. And that sort of encouragement and no questions asked, I guess. Support, good in a way, bad in ways. Very useful, having support of family so that when there were pitch events and things like that to go to, that people would step in with babysitting. They're very base level supports that you don't think about, but are absolutely necessary to be able to start a business.
Yeah, definitely. So what did that journey look like at the start? What are your earliest memories of starting to actually say, I'm going to do this? What did you do?
Trying to figure out how to do it was really a really difficult first step. We, again, this accounting mindset really did not help. And so working with one of the lecturers here, who at the time was running a program similar to the D-School program, from the US, really helped to change my mindset around it. It's like, don't worry about the technology, don't worry about a website working or not working, just go out there and try to make your first sale. I was like, no, I can't make a sale, I don't have anything pretty to show them. It doesn't matter. I think that in itself was such a big enabler to just change my mindset. And then of course we launched with a off-the-shelf marketplace software that we're still using now. We've upgraded versions a few times, but just trying to find that technology, trying to figure out, okay, how do we accept credit card payments? Is that something that we have to go to the bank for? Looked around, found Stripe, which is everywhere now, but at the time was still fairly new. Trying to figure out all these other technologies that were, I guess, well known in the tech sector, but not well known outside of the tech sector. Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff, that enabling technologies that people don't know about until there's a lot of people using them, and to be early adopters of things is a massive advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even things like, we were thinking, okay, we've got to build this software from scratch about connecting marketplaces and things like that. How do you connect two sides, get money from one person to another? And you think, okay, that must be so easy because they'll just pay into your bank account and then you'll pay the money out of their bank account. But then that takes time and effort to do that every single day. No one's going to do that. You need to have these automated technologies ready to go.
And chargebacks and people disputing things and all the, again, things you probably wouldn't have wanted to think about before you started.
I had some awareness of those issues. And again, this is like the curse of knowledge, right? I knew that chargebacks are an issue. So it was about how do we over-engineer our terms and conditions so that we can minimise the risk of chargebacks and all of these sorts of things. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting kind of marketplace software as an enabler, the kind of payment processing as an enabler, your background. Can I ask this a different way? If there was a kind of recipe for your early success, what would the critical ingredients be?
Critical ingredients was talking to people. That was absolutely number one. I'm not a marketer. I'm not someone that likes to go out there and show myself off too much. So that was, but I do love talking to people. And someone said to me, okay, I need you to go back. Again, this lecturer said to me, I would need you to go and walk around to some of the playgrounds in your area, look for parents with prams and have a chat to them about the idea. Find out why they'd use it, find out why they wouldn't use it. Listening to people outside of my own friends and family, because your friends and family are always going to tell you what you're doing is fantastic and it sounds so interesting. Talking to people that didn't know me, were socially different to me, and by socially different I mean maybe income levels, lifestyle, political views, environmental views. All of these things were massive enablers for me. Talking to people as much as possible.
Were there specific people that ended up being very useful?
Yeah, the most useful were angry customers. Angry customers were the most useful people. And you think, oh, really? You know, why would you talk to them? They're so angry at you. But one of them said, look, I'm going to take you to coffee and I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with your website. And we're actually really good friends now. You know, we still catch up for lunch. It was the start of a nice friendship. And she said, this is what happened. I was really upset when this happened. You didn't tell me in advance that this was going to happen. When I clicked here, this didn't work and that was frustrating and I'm just trying to make a few dollars here to be a bit of pocket money for me. Why can't you just make it work? And it was like, oh, yeah, okay. Talk to your angry customers.
This is the thing. I remember losing so much sleep about particular unhappy customers. And because one really unhappy person can ruin your life if you care a lot. So how did you balance that into opening yourself to a lot but not ruining your life through this taking it on?
Yeah, talk to anyone that was sitting at UTS Startups in those early days and they'll tell you how many times I was sitting in the corner crying.
Oh, God.
And I can look back and laugh.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. sorry, Murray. But I mean, that's it. The good thing was that being in that environment, the people around you had experienced that at different points either. So like, oh yeah, we had this happen to us once and it was the worst thing in the world that happened and this is what I did. And you know, sometimes the answer is just go out and have a few drinks and don't work for the rest of the day and then come back fresh the next day. So that support around me really did help. We've had some fantastic customers have given us some wonderful praise. The problems we've managed to help people with, you know, someone's been, you know, had a newborn early, premature baby, they've come home and are looking for a breast pump or something. We've been able to get one to them within 2 hours, you know, little stories like that, which have just been fantastic, have really, really helped with the buzz of running a business.
I want to hear more of those good stories in a second.
Yep.
But I also want to get a couple of confessions out of you to help other people in what they're doing. Are there things about the early kind of implementation or growth of Kindershare that you would not have shared with people at the time, but looking back now, 5 years, you're okay with sharing now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That Gumtree story, someone said, okay, stop trying to sell your brand, stop trying to sell what you're doing, go down to the base problem. What is it? People need stuff, but they can't afford necessarily to pay full price, or they don't want to buy brand new. Where are they looking? They're looking on Gumtree. why aren't you on Gumtree? I was like, actually, yeah, that's where I first experienced a rental, was on Gumtree. So why aren't I on Gumtree? And that was it. We listed every single product we had on Gumtree. And through that generated leads, we managed to, over time, set up a Zap so that it would auto-respond and redirect people to our website, which saved us a lot of time and money in, sitting there replying to each one by one. But yeah, little hacks, go back to the base problem. Where are they looking for a solution to that problem today? That's where you need to be.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years since Kindershare launched. What does Kindershare look like today?
Kindershare almost entirely takes care of itself now. We have a wonderful customer support team that deals with 99% of the issues that come up on a day-to-day basis. Things like, I can't figure out how to do X, someone wants to extend the rental, how do we do it? Helps them solve those problems. Of course, we try to design that stuff as easy as possible now, but not always the case. Our website is actually up 99% of the time, whereas there were weeks where the website would go down in the early days, or there was at one point, bad accountant did not reconcile her bank account for a month and realised no payments had processed for a month. And so we had to call up people one by one and say, do you mind transferring money to us to pay? So it looks very different. The amount of time that we spend is obviously, or that I spend is obviously a lot less. Marketing, we used to just do a spray advertising and just, I've wasted so much money on bad marketing that we should never have done. But at the time, everyone was saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. We don't. Like, we know which channels work for us. We focus our attention on those channels and go through there. And, it's all of those things. Having good partners, having good advice.
It's incredible to get it to that point where it's able to be self-sustaining. And you can work on the incremental kind of improvements rather than buried in customer complaints and other things. Yeah. Like that's, especially over a 5-year time frame, it's incredible to get to this point.
Yeah.
So that's the journey of Kindershare. What's the journey for yourself? What do you look like today compared to 5 years ago as a result of being an entrepreneur?
I've always been a confident person. That's not been an issue for me. It's just been more about, a recognition or an understanding that my skill set isn't limited to this very small layer of things I used to do. It's a broad skill set that can be applied across many businesses at many different stages and things like that. So that's it. Someone who realises that work doesn't have to be 9 to 5 in a suit in the office.
No, you can be on a street corner in Ultimo talking to a weirdo about...
Or, I sort of use that to then... Kindershare was getting to a stage where it was taking care of itself. We had started looking at another startup last year, just as COVID hit, so it really just impacted our ability to concentrate on anything really. So that startup sort of fizzled out. But I now work to facilitate commercialisation for other entrepreneurs. So I'm not saying that the Kindershare experience was anything amazing or that I was the world's best entrepreneur or anything like that. But it gave me just a little bit of knowledge together with all of the skills I'd built before that to really come into this commercialisation role, which I'm loving.
Okay. This is the thing, like, how much success would have made you happy? Like, how much would you need to see coming in and out, and how much kind of benefit to people would you need to create for you to look at that and not describe it in that way, where it could have been more successful? That kind of genuine passive income that is helping tens of thousands of people to not have to buy equipment for their children and then throw it away, or like this kind of treadmill of stuff that people get on. That's incredible. And only you would describe it in that way. But I think also a lot of people out there think the same way, and they set themselves up for either this is going to be the next incredible big thing and it's going to be worth the risk that I'm taking, or it's going to be nothing. And they end up with nothing. But there's a middle ground that is wonderful.
And I'm more than happy to be sitting in that middle ground. You know, early on, lots of people saying, oh, get out there and raise, get out there and raise. And the reality for me was that, no, that imposed a level of, I don't want to say the word burden, but compliance, goals, metrics. And I wasn't certain that I could dedicate the time that was necessary to get this to a multi-million-dollar business. And so I didn't want that, and I didn't take that path. And I consciously chose a path where it's the passive income that is helping people all across Australia, rather than internationally. You know, we're not there yet. I'm not sure we will branch out, but that's okay, and I'm perfectly happy with that decision we've made.
But to own 100% of that as well.
Yeah.
Like VCs will want either that massive thing or nothing, and if it gets to an interesting exit level that they don't want you to have, that's not going to end well. You have complete control now, and every day you're continuing to learn about the market and new opportunities are coming along.
100%. Like our business was never going to be a VC business. We don't have the metrics. We don't have that. Our TAM is not high enough for a VC. I don't know, that's my back of the envelope numbers. So it wasn't, you know, it's not like that was opportunities lost. That's not for me. I don't see it as that at all.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where I think early stage VC, definitely, because they need the moonshots or nothing, but later stage kind of private equity and other ways of funding that further growth definitely make more sense.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
So looking back, yourself in 2016, what advice would you give yourself before starting?
Don't overthink things. Don't overthink things. That's the number one advice. I spent so much time overthinking, should this button be here or should it be there? Should this logo be this shade of red or that shade of red? Should this be over here or over there? It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that we connect owners and renters of baby equipment. As long as you're doing that connection, that's all that people care about. No one cares about what colours you have or any of that other stuff. So, that's my number one advice for day one. Later on, that's a very different story, but for day one, don't overthink things. Let go of perfect. Nothing is ever going to be perfect.
Sorry, I said that was the last question, I'm going to lie. Where did that come from for yourself? Why? What were the reasons for putting that much work into getting the design perfect and other parts perfect at the start?
I'm an HD student, Murray. I did my second postgraduate degree with a newborn. Husband constantly overseas, and I still got an HD average. That's just me. I like everything to be perfect. If I'm doing it, I like to do it right. It's, that's where, and I've always been like that. So it would make me angry when things didn't work because I just wasn't used to that.
Would you say there's a difference between what you need from yourself and what customers need to pay for something?
Yeah, for sure. And customers don't care. They don't care. This is the thing that I realise more and more every day. People don't care.
I care.
They care about the important stuff. And what you consider is the important stuff is not what your customers consider the important stuff. I see these people agonising over their logo or their company name for months. I just think, who cares? Don't care. Just do it. Just do it.
Okay, except for that one person that's going to be complaining on the forum. That person can care a lot and buy you coffees and help along the way.
Which was, I mean, that was worth its weight in gold. I was really happy she did that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Check out Kindershare.com.
Yep.
For all your baby needs, everyone knows someone that's having babies or is dealing with children themselves or something else. Is Kindershare.com. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you, Murray.
today. And for people watching, hit subscribe to see more content like this. Hit like if this has helped you. And join me in thanking Vanouhi.
Thank you. Thanks, Murray.
Thank you.
Thank you.